So the focus in our
Yeah,
last interview is kind of diving into the behind-the-scenes development of
yeah.
privacy and security services. And so can you kind of give that insight for people listening who are going, well, it's just a QR code. What the hell's the big deal? So,
Yeah. So, well, MFA was particularly difficult for us to ship. So, first things first, I think the biggest difficulty is when you're a company like us, solely focused on security and privacy, you can't easily beta test the authentication flow with just a bunch of random users because your biggest issue is, well, if you make a beta for your authentication flow and one has MFA, one doesn't have MFA, and there's a mistake in the beta or you made a bug somewhere, that suddenly becomes your biggest vulnerability. And if anyone wants to hack you anywhere, they're going to try to hack you through the beta channel now. So it's particularly difficult to test because you can't easily test it with the beta users. So that's number one. So that takes an extra amount of time. The second difficulty is with Cryptee, as you know, we already have an extra encryption key, and MFA adds a third friction layer to login. So if we don't design this in a good way, we knew that people are going to actually struggle with the login flow, and we didn't want to make it so difficult so that it just becomes impractical to a point where nobody wants to use it, which would make absolute sense, and I completely understand and relate that. So we wanted to make sure that it's something that's reasonable. So under the hood, we did a lot of updates. And the third difficulty was the fact that we also have Google login, as you know. So I'll talk a bit more about that. And then the fourth difficulty is the fact that a lot of the iOS devices actually haven't shipped a good support for TOTP. So despite the fact that Apple announced support for things like YubiKeys and whatnot, our initial goal was to actually ship support for YubiKeys and TOTP and just skip the whole time-based one-time password thing maybe and just go straight for the YubiKey support. We thought it would be the best way to go about it because that's the most secure way to go about it. And we could then add passkeys, etc. It just opens the gate for a much more secure path and we could just skip the TOTP. But what happened is that despite the fact that Apple promised support coming for YubiKeys and any other device that you might want to use in the realm of FIDO2, Apple actually did not ship complete support for all these devices. For example, they shipped support for the USB ones, but if you had a Bluetooth authenticator, then it was just not going to work. Like iOS devices didn't support those Bluetooth authenticators, which a lot of people have, like Google Titan key holders have these things. Oh, also important, when we're on the topic of this, a lot of the people tend to mix up. Since we support Google login, that already supported 2FA. So you could have 2FA with Cryptee for a very long time using the Google login. But if you wanted just the username and password native Cryptee login and the 2FA on top of that, that wasn't a possibility for a while because we already had the encryption key and that was technically the same as 2FA. But what also held us back was Google a little bit. What happened is that since we support Google login, we had to make sure that our flow interoperates in harmony with Google login. In short, what was really difficult was that we had to detect for cases like, what if you're already logged into your Google account and you just click Google, but while you're logged in and you're waiting for the login to process, you just click Google or click Cryptee. Like there's a race condition that we have to make sure that everything is good and you can't just easily get hacked. And maybe like some users know and some don't. I don't know if you remember this, but we also have this feature where you can log into Cryptee using both your Google account and your Cryptee account. So you can actually have both of them access the same account simultaneously. So for example, at home, you could just use your Google login. And at work, if you don't want to log into your personal Google account, you can just use Cryptee with a username. That way you get the best of both worlds, or practicality where at home, you get your Google account and you're super quickly logged in, and at work, you don't have to share your Google credentials on a company computer. So all these things added up to a point where we realized this actually creates a bit of a login flow difficulty. And in our specific case, while we're implementing our 2FA support, we realized there is actually a Google login vulnerability on Google's behalf. And that meant that while we're doing the security research and digging through the details, then we contacted Google. The fine folks over there took great care and they contacted us very quickly, and they worked on it with us and fixed it very quickly, and then we could finally ship it. So it took us a little longer, but in the process, we helped Google out. In the process, we helped Apple out. And in the process, we helped ourselves out. And I think it was worth it. So I would say that it was a very worthy journey. But it was fun. I am still not allowed to talk about the details of the Google stuff. and I believe they're still rolling out some of the fixes, and maybe they rolled it out. Maybe I'm just being too silly, but they were extremely responsive and extremely quick. So I'm guessing they rolled out everything, but I'm just gonna, be on the side of caution here and skip the details for the sake of security. But it was a quite interesting and fun journey to say the least.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. Here's another clip for you, and if you want to really dive into tech, check out our main channel, Techlore, for a deeper dive into digital rights, privacy, security, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.